follow if there's a conflict, 1.6.
Actually, if there's a conflict, you follow this one.
We follow
Yeah, this is
these,
first
not
and foremost,
Oh, these.
above
These
Robert's
covers,
rules.
right?
Rules of order. There's guidelines, procedures to deal with the council. If there's a conflict,
And again, my
these
mind
rules
keeps
shall
coming back
apply.
to,
Well, no, when they say these rules shall apply, I believe they're referring to Robert's Rules of Order shall apply.
these rules.
Oh. Huh. I read that differently.
I can see how you would interpret it that way.
that, well, I would still always, as much as possible, love to see somebody vote up or down.
Right.
I still don't see a problem with you doing what you've done, as long as you realize that according to this rule, it goes in as a yes.
See, that's my problem. You're really taking away my vote.
Or we're adding to your vote.
You're telling me how I voted.
Misinterpreting is what it is. It seems
Yeah.
like.
Dave,
I'm
what-
sorry, I didn't mean to put words in your mouth, but it seems like a
Theoretically, what-
misinterpretation of your vote.
Hmm.
Theoretically, what could happen during votes that this could change an outcome of? Or is there? Is it more philosophical?
Well, if someone fails to vote without a valid disqualification pursuant to these rules, it's an affirmative vote. And if it was the last vote and it was 3-3, then it would carry 4-3. So it could, it would be,
Definitely.
it'd be a vote on the affirmative for whatever the question is.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have impact.
So worst case, if we allowed abstentions as a third option of a vote, yes, no, or abstain. Worst case, it could throw the question into a tie.
Potentially, it could. If
And it has.
provision
And it
that-
has, absolutely. And
Jennifer,
you-
wa-
you broke
Jennifer
the
was an
tie.
abstain.
Well,
vote.
I voted
Not-
once.
well,
But
and that's
you can't
what-
on
As
an
an
ordinance.
abstention.
Again, that's one of the
You
things
broke
that
the
we're
tie.
still
You
trying to
cannot
go
on
back
an
and
ordinance?
assess is.
Takes
have
4
we counted all
affirmative
those
votes to pass
correctly,
an ordinance.
Or would that have changed any outcomes?
No matter how many are present, it takes 4 affirmative votes.
This is
Is
Crazy.
the intent here to disallow an abstention for political reasons? Is that what the goal is?
I wasn't here when the council put this language in, but it seems clear to me that I would understand this intent to be, you need to vote, that the message to yourselves is you need to vote, and if you don't, that's fine, but it's a yes, and it's basically forcing a vote. And
And
it
that's-
sounds like there may have been some concerns in the past around an inordinate amount of not voting or abstaining that caused a majority of the then sitting council to think this was important enough to put in. That's the only thing I could conclude.
I think abstaining for political reasons or for personal gain or because you don't want to take a position on an article, on an issue, is not an issue for anyone on this council. This is a group of highly committed people who are using their research effectively and come to positions. I haven't found anybody yet, unless they've been out of town or something, that hasn't come to a position on something. And been pretty adamant about it, too. Been
So there
able
would
to
be no
explain their
point to
position.
abstain.
This would almost would also say that we need to, after every vote, take a roll call. Because to me, it just seems like if you're going to count votes and make sure everyone's voting, then everyone needs to be accounted for, and not just a guess.
I just need to have sharp hearing.
What if somebody doesn't say yea or nay? They're just silent. You don't hear their voice. So, to me, if we're gonna get to the thing where we're counting everyone's votes and making sure that they're voting yea or nay, then we also need to take roll call after every single vote.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with that. I think there are very, very few where it comes into question even if you don't hear it. It's pretty easy to hear all 7 voices up there separately at the same time. And if there's any question, we just call for a roll call at that call into question, that's exactly what it's there for, is to make sure that there's no discrepancy one way or the other.
Well, I think we need to have that option of abstaining, because there's many votes that we take that sometimes will put us in situations where we don't want to stand in the way of the majority of the council, if that's the direction they want to head. But yet, we don't want to be on the record as voting against it. But we may not say, great example are the stimulus, you know, there's some good projects that are getting funded by the stimulus, but I just cannot vote for it. But yet, I don't want to be on record as saying I oppose that project, I mean, because that's just not true. I just oppose that form of funding for it. So, to me, an abstention makes sense.
John, one of the things I'm concerned about sometimes, and specifically with you, is if you abstain, then you're not making a political statement when you're running for office, and that's what I think it's used for. And I don't want to see it used so that you don't get on record that you're opposing something or that you're in favor of, so that it can be used at you at the state level.
Sometimes a yes/no vote, though, is not a true reflection of a person's thoughts on a subject. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, we've got to take, you know, and abstaining from a vote is a vote. It's not a yes or a no, but it is a vote, and it's a position. And if somebody wants to run against someone for office for that and say, so-and-so abstains on every vote, and take it to the people, let the electorate decide. But I think as far as a council, I think being consistent with Robert's Rules of Order on this, I think would be a good thing for us.
And again, I come back to, I think that's okay if you abstain. And I believe that as far as the clerk is concerned, it would be, in the minutes, it would be likely reflected as an abstention. In the actual tally of votes, in deciding an item or not, it would be thrown into the ayes under this the way it is. But the abstention would still be on the record and it would still be there. It's just kind of behind the scenes it gets counted differently, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad, I don't.
The minutes would say 3 ayes, 1 abstention, 3 nays, motion carried.
Exactly.
Okay. And it would attribute, you know, the votes to the councilors, the way it does. It's clear that there's different perspective on the council on this particular issue. We'll be bringing this back, you know, as a group, you know, with some changes proposed. And when it's in front of you for action, on this item or any of the items, a counselor could make a motion to amend the rules, and it could be deliberated, you know, in a formal decision-making way. And whatever the pleasure of the council is, we'll move that forward at that time. What I can commit to do is do a little research on how Robert's Rules treats it. I'm pretty sure that it treats it as a non-vote, and so the domain of votes is reduced by 1.
By 1.
If the domain of
Just like
votes
the person left the chambers.
Right, so it's as if someone was absent, really. And, but what I don't know is if there's multiple abstentions, and now I'm, you know, these
Does
are
it endanger the
wild
vote?
things that might happen, but yes, now all of a sudden, do you not have a quorum, and what